Welcome back, everyone. And we are in another class where we are discussing sociology. And today I'm going to do a very brief topic on the sociological imagination. And those of you who are a part of our Facebook sociology group, I welcome you and thank you for tuning in and for becoming a part of this virtual classroom where you can just ask questions on our Facebook page, and you can also request specific topics, as well as you can ask for help with your homework. There are over 6,000 participants on our Facebook page, and I'm sure whatever help or services you may need can be found there. We have many plans to integrate the Facebook page into a program where we can help students who are in classes, in these sociology classes. And specifically what we would like to do is to create a website where students can come and receive the help that they need. This is not the same that you would find in a writing website where someone would assist you with writing papers and things of that nature. But we want to build a site that can basically have all of the resources and information that you need to become a sociology student, and hopefully it will help you to be prepared for your course prior to going to your classes. And so today we're going to talk about the sociological imagination. And many of you who are sociology students or thinking about sociology has some concept of what sociology is all about. However, if you are not able to conceptualize the sociological imagination and to actually integrate it into your everyday life and actually apply it to your life and to the lives of those that you know, it's very difficult to really understand what sociology is all about. One of our very famous sociologists, which is, it's Emil Durkheim. I have a very difficult time pronouncing his name, but he is one of my favorite sociologists. And so is C. Wright Mills and Max Weber, as well as Auguste Comte and some others who have actually contributed very strongly theoretical perspectives to the study and discipline of sociology. And one of the things that I want to discuss is C. Wright Mills' perspective called the sociological imagination. And I want you to think of this perspective from this point of view. You're a person who hypothetically have a propensity to, let's say, you live in a society where you are a farmer, or you are a taxi driver, or you have some strange employment status in your society, and then you go into another society and you realize that you have more choices than the ones that you were limited to in the society in which you grew up. The sociological imagination would have you to look at your personal life first of all. Another example would be my personal situation, where I could say, wow, let's say for instance, I was getting a divorce, and I was really perplexed in my heart about why it is that in my life, or in the life of my family members, divorce is a prevalent issue. Well, I can look at it, first of all, from the micro level, which is my personal level and the environment in which I grew up. However, to have a sociological imagination, I would have to broaden my view of divorce and look at it from a societal or a cultural perspective. Why is divorce prevalent in the society or culture that I live in? And when I look at the context of divorce from that society, and I put together all of the ideas of why divorce is prevalent, perhaps I can look at my own situation and realize, wow, it's not just me, but I'm affected by the society that I live in. Perhaps if I look at another individual and I see that perhaps they do not have high levels of divorce in their society, then I can contribute the fact that their marriage lasted based on the fact that that society does not have a high level of divorce. This is how you apply the sociological imagination. First of all, you can look at your own social issues and try to find out, what is it that makes my social issue such a problem? And am I the only one experiencing this? And then what happens is you'll find that you are a part of a group or a larger group in society that is having that same experience. And so C. Wright Mills picked this up, and he said that the sociological imagination enables us to grasp the connection between history and biography. History meant that society is located in a broad stream of events. So in other words, it's not just you by yourself having this experience of divorce, but there's plenty of people in your environment, in your society, or in your cultural experience that are having a divorce and probably asking themselves the same questions that you're asking, which means that you are connected in ways that you may not think of in your everyday life because all you can see is from your perspective. Well, the sociological imagination, according to Mills, also deals with history. It also deals with biography, which speaks to the very individual's orientations to life. So there is a lot that goes into this. And in short, basically what he's saying is that the societies we grow up and participate in, which also has to do with our social location. Okay, so the social location has to do with the corner of life that you occupy or the place where you live. It has to do with your job, your income, your education, your gender, your race, the people in your corner of the world. It also has to do with your behavior, your belief systems that you pick up. Okay, so basically what we're saying is that there is something about where you live and your social location that is affecting you and causing you to be to divorce, or to be a farmer, or to be a steel worker, or to be in politics, or whatever the context of your employment is, or the choice that you make in your life. And so you make choices based on the society that you live in. And Peter Berger, which is also one of our sociological theorists, he phrased he coined the phrase basically that society is within us. We are not in society. Society is in us, basically. And think of it this way. You grow up in America, and when you turn 20 or 30, you move to Africa, or you move to India, or Pakistan, or Afghanistan, or Australia. You move to another country. What happens is the society that you grew up in is inside of you, and you take that wherever you go. You take that based on your experiences, based on your practices, based on your socialization, and you integrate that into the society in which you are going into. And so that makes it very important for us to understand the sociological perspective basically is understanding human behavior. And then as you understand that behavior on an individual or a small group level, then you can basically apply that in a broader social context. And society is basically the makeup of a culture and a history that we all share, or a territory that we all share in. And being that, many of the students or many of the participants, for example, in our Facebook group, many of those participants are from all over the world. They're international. So it's very difficult to look at a global and an international perspective of sociology without first having an understanding of the societies that are touched by that international or global society of sociology. And so our social location, we spoke about that earlier. The social location, basically the group or membership, such as the fact that you're female, the fact that you may work, like we said, be a steel worker, your ethnicity, your size. You belong to a group of very small individuals, a group of large individuals, a group of medium-sized individuals. It's basically whatever group you actually fit into within the context of your society. And basically it is the group of memberships that people have because of their location in history and society. So historically, you can look at where you have grown up. You can look at what areas of life or culture or society that you've lived in, what areas have been most influential in your life, and you can apply that to yourself, and that will be considered your social location. And so the sociological perspective is very simple. It's very detailed and broad in its context, but in its understanding, it's very simple. And so it helps us get out of that cramped mentality or that individualistic view that we use or that we're exposed to when we're talking about the broader society of human behavior. Basically, what it does is it links us between the people, what people do, and the social settings that shape their behavior. And so, for instance, the Facebook group that we're all a part of, that is a group that will help influence who you are or the way you think. For instance, it will influence whether or not you pursue your degree in sociology or you decide to take a course in sociology. And so society basically has a very influential effect on your life. And so it's very important that you understand that if you're going to have a sociological imagination, you have to think outside of your personal self and your personal experiences. If you can start there, basically you can start and look at social issues that you're dealing with as an individual. For instance, the neighborhood you might live in. Why are there maybe so many robberies in your neighborhood? Or why does your neighborhood have so much drug infestation? Or as we talked about in one of our videos, why are there so many teenage pregnancies? And if you're a teenager or a young person who's caught in this basic stereotype of teenage pregnancy, then perhaps you can ask yourself, okay, I'm a teenager, I'm pregnant. What is it? How can I look at the broader perspective of teenage pregnancy and apply it to myself and see how maybe I have been influenced to become a part of this group called teenage pregnancy? And so we have to look at the sociological imagination from that perspective. It's not easy to come out of a selfish mindset. Basically, when I say selfish mindset, I mean an individualistic mindset and go into a group mindset, into a larger contextual mindset. And so I drew a picture, which I think would be very interesting to see. Right here, this is society. And this is you. And so basically what happens is you have an issue. So right here, you look at your issue and you say, wait a minute, this is the micro level. How did I get to experience this issue? Well, the best thing for you to do is to come out of your personal environment and broaden your view. In other words, widen your view and look at everything or every person that is experiencing what you are experiencing with. For instance, we know that there is a large group of baby boomers in the United States right now. Those baby boomers are having experiences on individual levels that they may not totally understand. And so if they were to actually look at the context of baby boomers from the American society perspective, in other words, how does the society in which you live deal with baby boomers? What programs have been created to affect the baby boomer? What groups have been affected? How many people are trying to contact you? For instance, the AARP or perhaps Medicare, Social Security. You may be right on the cusp of joining the baby boomer generation, senior generation. And so you'll find yourself being experiencing an influx of people trying to tap into the fact that, hey, you're about to enter into this group. And society has said, this is how we're going to deal with you when you become a baby boomer. So we are suggesting that you become a part of this group or that you take this. Take, for instance, the fact that baby boomers now are much poorer as they become seniors than their grandparents were, or than their great-grandparents were. And so they find themselves today still living with their children, or their children still living with them. They're still working at such a much older age. Their retirement income is not as large as the retirement income they expected when they first started working. So their retirement looks different. And so they can't look at just their individual lives and say, well, maybe it's something I did. Maybe I didn't pick the right job, or maybe I didn't have the proper education. You have to look at the broader society and say, how does the society or the social location that I am in affect me becoming a baby boomer, me becoming a senior in this baby booming generation? And so you have to take that and apply it in all the situations in your life. So in other words, you are not alone. Your experience is not alone. We know that one of the sociologists that we looked at, Emil Durkheim, when he talked about suicide, he didn't just look at suicide from the perspective of, oh, wow, you know, in this area that I live in, there's a, group of people who are, committing suicide. No, he looked at a very international, a larger perspective, and found out that there was a pattern of people committing suicide. And so he started on a micro, local, individual level, and he looked at the social problems that were around him, and he said, wait a minute. This is being affected by something larger than itself. And so he looked at society, he looked at culture, and he found out that the society affects how many people commit suicide every year. And also that any person that commits suicide is a part of the group of suicide, those who commit suicide. And then we can look at Max Weber. Max Weber disagreed with one of the sociologists, which was Marx, and he said, wait a minute, there's a problem here. Because Marx has this thought about where he likes to talk about, capitalism. And so Weber said, wait a minute, society is not influenced by capitalism. Society's greatest influence is religion. Because every person who has a belief system or believe in Protestantism or Catholicism, their entire life is affected by that belief system. And so it's not capitalism that is causing the problem in society, it's religion. because the average person back in that day and that time believed that if they achieved a certain status or became a part of a certain class of people, then they were blessed by God. And so Max Weber said, no, it's not capitalism that came first. It's basically religion that came first. And the individuals that became a part of these religious groups, they took on the mindset of those groups and the doctrinal thinking of those groups, and they applied it to their everyday lives. And so they look at their individual selves and they say, wait a minute, if I've made it in society and I've achieved something, then it's because religion has told me that if I achieve something and I live a very prosperous life, then I am blessed by God. And so every person who has that belief works very hard in the society and culture that they live into to achieve a certain degree of comfortability. And so when they make those achievements or they arrive at those particular financial statuses, then they say they have been blessed. And this is the birth that Weber believes is the birth of capitalism. And so that is called the Protestant ethic. And so we know that we have to look at different areas in our life if we're going to become sociologists. We can't just look at our individual selves and say, I am the way I am because, I just, it's just my thinking or it's just the way I grew up. No, you have got to look beyond yourself. You have got to pan your vision and make it bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, because no matter where you start from, whether it's the micro or the macro level of looking at your circumstance, you will always find that you have been influenced by the society, the social location, the culture, the group that you are a part of. And we're all born into groups. You're not an island to yourself, as some would say. No, you're not an island, because when you're born with certain groups that you automatically become a part of, such as you can look at yourself and say, I look at myself and I say, I'm female. I'm automatically a part of the female group. I am black. I have Indian and white culture in DNA, but basically society says no, regardless of what your DNA says, you're black. So I'm part of the African American group. I have a little weight on me, so that will put me in the group of maybe those who are considered to be obese, or those who are considered to be larger than what society says you should be. And so we're very fluid in the groups that we move into. We can also look at gender. I'm female, but that has to do with biology and sex. Gender says, according to society, gender says if you are born a male, there are certain things that you are expected to do based on your gender, based on your maleness, and based on your femaleness. And that's why it's very hard for people to understand same-sex couples or couples who have had surgery and they have become a male, born biologically male, but then they change their gender to female. And so we look at them and we consider that deviant behavior because it's not, quote, the norm of the society we live in. However, when we look at these people, regardless of their choice to become male or female, there is still certain contexts for which they have to adhere to. So whether they are male or female, society has already set up the context in which male and female gender is expressed. So it doesn't matter which one they choose, they're still within the context of society. And so society, as we learned and understand, is not outside of us, it is within us. And so a lot of times we can go to another country and we can become very ethnocentric. meaning that we think that our way of living or the society we grew up in, the experiences we have, is better than the way someone else might have grew up, or the society that they may have experienced. And we call that having a very ethnocentric attitude, meaning that you have decided that you are better, or your society is better. And some say that about America. America wants to make every country a democracy. But the reality of it is, it doesn't matter what the thinking is. It's all relevant to the society in which you live. It's all relevant to the culture in which you are experiencing and growing up. And it's also relevant to the group, the influence, the socialization in which you have in which you have experienced. And so to have a sociological imagination very simply means that you start off looking at social problems right where you are, even within your own life. And then you have to broaden that and look at how many other people are having the same experience, and under what circumstances are these experiences happening. How is society influencing this experience that I'm having? And so this becomes very important when we talk about the sociological imagination. And that is just basically one perspective of sociology that I think is very, very important for us to look at. And so it's just seeing the broader social context. That's as simple as it is. It's not you know, as they say, it's not rocket science. It's basically social science. And so thank you very much for listening. And if there are any further questions, or if you would like to add to this video, please add in the comments below. Your comments, suggestions, and any input that you have is definitely welcome. And as I stated, these are very down-to-earth topics that we're having on the subject of sociology. And perhaps it will prepare you for your experience in higher education. If you decide that you wanted to take a sociology course, or you wanted to get a degree in sociology, perhaps these videos will give you some perspective and help you to understand what it is that you're about to embark on in your life. And as I stated in many of my videos, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. It's very important to have as many subscribers as possible so that we can continue to make these videos and information available to you. And for those of you who are part of the Facebook Sociology Club or group, I welcome you, and I thank you very much for participating in this YouTube session. And continue to send your questions to the Facebook Messenger or through the Facebook page, and we will continue to try to integrate your desires, such as the information that you're looking for, into these videos. And thank you very much, and we will see you next time.